Hey friends, welcome to a Tales from the Vault, but different to what you're used to because I'm going to tell a story which people ask for on my other channel, which is the Media Mogul channel. And I'm going to tell you about the story of the castle which we bought in Ludlow. And I'm going to go and talk through some dates, and I'm also going to tell you the story of Mind Mob going into radio advertisement, Ball Machina Productions, and then going to radio advertisement. So, two stories. I've got two books right here. I can basically cut to the books when it's necessary. So, I've got this book here, which is a small book which we don't use anymore, but it's got some bits and pieces in, which, they need scanning anyway for whatever purposes. And then I've got this big book here, which is huge, and it's got everything, every single bit in, which, needs photographing and scanning and bits need adding to it. So I'm just going to jump straight in and talk, what I can, and start. Well, I'm not entirely sure where to start, but I'll start somewhere. So, first story is going to be about the castle. So the castle in Ludlow the production started for it in 2010. I'm going to take you back to those glory times when things weren't going right for builders' offices back then. We were struggling. We had a lot of issues. We had most of the stuff, the work wasn't coming through the company. Jack was being Jack. Every time you were in the office, Jack came in. He'd sit in the little doorway. There was like a little utility area, and he would sit in the doorway of the kitchen with his feet in the utility area and would sit and talk trash for hours on end, just so I couldn't get any work done. And he didn't really want me to get any work done. And this one day, me and Charles, Jack had gone out of the office, and I said to Charles, we're getting nothing done. And then another day, I said to Charles, no work is getting done at all, to the point where there was no work actually getting done at all. It was, it was coming to that point, that very, very point, where things weren't happening for us in the office. Things weren't going good for us. And it got to the point where I was saying to Charles, look, I think we should have called it a day. We should have called it a day. But we didn't. Why? Because we knew there was work out there. Where? We were never entirely sure. That was the problem. We were never sure of where the work was. That, and we weren't sure what was happening from one day to the next. Things were changing. We had Jack changing his things to make things difficult. That was Jack's way. He wanted to make things as difficult as possible to stop us from doing what we were doing. So it got to the point where we had If you can imagine no work coming in at all, and then all of a sudden, we get a call on the phone. Bingo. And at the time, I didn't think that this was going to be too much. I thought, wow, work coming in at long last. We're not having to help other people out, or we're not having to get people to help us out. Boom, we can do it. So I'm on the phone I get a phone call from a really, really big company. And they said, hey, would you like to do a job in Wales? And I'm like, yeah. They said, right, it's an old ruin of a castle and a museum company called Marbrea, I can't pronounce them. Marbrea. No, they sold it to Narzik. And Narzik was buying them. They've now changed their name. And they were trying to make museum places, basically. And what they wanted was a hotel. A lot of money was lost. They already spent about 78 grand by this point. Now, 2010 was a bad year, because you had the cuts, you had the government cutting things left, right and centre, and they were just about to close the book before when we got the materials and started building, they were about to close the book on that project. Which, it was a strange time, And so we literally trying to get the stock for that project. So we'd called a meeting quite early on. And in the meeting, we basically said where we wanted all of the stock. There was some stock that we didn't have, that we couldn't get straight away. Pardon me. And the reason we couldn't get it was because we were waiting for everything and it was a big job. And in one of the meetings, which was quite early on, it's not in this book, I don't know which book it's in, but we basically said, we're going to have to start buying shares in we're going to have to get shares to literally get things started. So basically that's, we got everybody together in the office and we said, everyone and I'd learnt this from a business skills at Henshaw's, where everyone buys shares and then the people buy the shares in the company too. And we'd sat down and we were in the office for about 10 minutes and we said, right, well, why don't we come up with 80 quid shares to get the money for the castle, and they can make a large investment, because then maybe the castle would have been the investment. And what happened was the castle became an absolute disaster, because getting the funds, we're saying, right, well, we're going to have to get around everybody. So you go around everyone. Would you buy shares? You phone people, buy shares. Would you buy shares? Would you buy shares? Would you buy shares? And in 3 months, and we didn't have enough. And we're counting everything and we're adding it all up. we say, yes, we've got it, right? It gets to the end of July, beginning of August. End of July, beginning of August, and things start to happen. Because then they say, right, we've got the shares, where's the next 20 grand? So we're sat in a meeting going, we had about 18 grand. And we're saying, well, there's 18 grand here, where are we going to get an extra 30,000? Because you could buy 80 or some people have bought 20%, something like £80 the shares are worth, some were worth 20. So we went round everybody, Neil, Nell, Nana, Mummy, my stepdad, my sister's friends, everybody round up, who can we round up? And we thought, right, okay, we've got the money. We'll start to buy the materials. It then gets to March. It then gets to the beginning of September. Hold on. It then gets to September. It then gets to the beginning of September, and they're holding off the materials. And you're thinking, well, hold on, do they need the money for this? We got the money. It was the stone that they needed, which just cost us a lot more. And by this point, we've got 44 grand from somewhere. I think we had to borrow. And we're thinking, this is people's money. So you get to work. And partway through that, September, we were doing other jobs as well. Other jobs were coming in. This was in 2010. By this point, we'd had 4 months of no work because my sleepovers had been moved over from Wednesday, Thursday to Saturday, Sunday. Which Saturday, Sunday, I'm thinking, great, Saturday, Sunday, I can go on a Saturday and the Sunday, whatever. But once you've done all the work on the Saturday, there's no work on the Sunday. And that's good for Jack because it means you're not going in the office as much. But it wasn't good for us because we needed to be in that office. We needed to be in that office at all times during that moment. And as we're in the office at that moment, I get a call on the Saturday afternoon. So I gets a call. Stock's been delayed again by another month. By another week. You're waiting for 3 weeks. We've already got stock to take up. By this point, we weren't allowed to have stock delivered at the yard because of Jack. We weren't allowed to store stock anywhere. Mannerings weren't letting us store the stock, even though they said they would. So we had a trailer parked up in town full of stock that could have been stolen. Because Jack didn't want us to do this job. We'll come to that, remember that. So we're coming up Early, late October, would it have been? Would have been that. Late October, and what do you think happens? Jack starts being Jack. And he starts, Jack decides he's going to try and stop other things. I've got another story about Jack Anderson, but anyway. So in the office, working away. And as soon as we mention the castle and talking about shares, there's a big knock on the door. My nan's going, how much shares did I put? You put 80% in, Nan. Oh, well, I only wanted 20%. I'm sorry, your 80%'s gone in. Anyway, that was a bad week. And we had 2 more bad weeks, but that's nothing to do with what happened. Then, the 3rd week, we were in a meeting. And in the meeting, we basically said, right, well, other lists will call, we'll have to cut some of the stock. So I said to Charles to chuck the stock off the wagon. But we didn't have to. What we started doing was we sold what we couldn't use in that point. Because we said, well, we'll buy more. We'll just buy more. If they can drop it off the yard on the Monday morning, we'll just buy more. Well, that's bad because Charles didn't start till 9:30, 10 o'clock. This was coming to the yard at 8:15. Bear in mind, we had a very small yard back then. We also had a lot of rules that we just weren't going to follow. Because why? This is our project. We'd fought for this. We'd got to the point where we said, we need this to happen, so to speak. I'll show you something else in a minute. So, because at that point, you start wondering, you start thinking, you start analysing. So it got towards the end of September, and we're working on the castle, and everybody's saying, what's the improvement? We said, we can't give a progress report. That's always a bad sign when you can't give a progress report. And the political side of it was we weren't allowed. It wasn't Jack telling us. It wasn't anybody else telling us. We weren't allowed because Mannerings were saying do not publish a progress report until all the stock has left us, until it's got to Wales. When it got to Ludlow, we reported the stock's got to Ludlow, beginning of October. My staff had already been to Ludlow 3 weeks in September. They'd also been to other jobs. They'd been to a job on Park Road, they'd been to a job in Ainsdale and a job in Formby. So there were things happening. It was at this point the company was lifting, work was coming in. On a Sunday afternoon, I was sending emails to everybody, this is happening, blah, 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 what's happening? But because I didn't have a phone at home, I was losing a lot of work. Again. So let's cut to October, and then I'll cut to October, and then I'll show you what I was going to show you. because the shocking things I don't actually have in front of me, but the shocking thing, I'll just tell you what the shocking thing was. We'd written a list of all the things we needed to do. We'd written the scaffolding that had already been ordered. The scaffolding had actually been ordered weeks in advance, because that's the first thing that we paid for was the scaffold. Then we'd paid for, we'd also paid for other bits and pieces back then. And I was on the phone saying, get a trailer, I said to Charles, I says, can you drive on your truck, can you get a wagon straight there? And he's going, yeah, I can. That's no problem. Then I'm going to my other members of staff. I'm saying, right, Charles is on his wagon, he's taking it up. Is anyone else going? There was only Charles, and we had to get someone else from Mannerings, Charles and Rich. That were the first two people. Then Ed went. Because he was on another job. On the Sunday afternoon, I'm getting people phoning me up. Are the deliveries coming? Is this coming? I'm saying, whoa, hold on, Matt. We're calling a meeting. I called a meeting 4:00 on Sunday afternoon and said, this stock's coming. Have you called that stock in? Have you done that? Right, well, this needs to happen. I said, right, well, what we're going to do in November, we're going to redesign the castle that's going on. We were sat in there 4 months. And Charles was like, I can't go and get anything. I said, well, in the week, you go up. When I'm here on the weekends, we sit and have meetings. And we were sat every time I was there. I was never in the office. I was in the back room, getting everybody together, sat on the big couch going, well, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to do. All the meeting minutes, which you've just seen, which I've just shown you, on top of the stock lists. All the stock that was crossed out. Why? Why was it crossed out? Because the time was running out. You've got to remember this was 2010. Time was very valuable. Very valuable in 2010. At the end of 2010. And in that October, I'm having arguments with the council on the phone about what are we doing with the waste. The environmental, no one's getting in touch with nobody. Environmental waste. We're taking this. Oh, well, you can't tip here and you blah, 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 blah. I don't care about your environmental crap. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So, what I'm about to show you now is what we got in October and November. There is something else I want to talk about, which I can't show you in this book, unfortunately, because it's too personal. But we'll talk about something else that was going on, which is, without me talking about it, it's not personal to the story. So here is all from October right through to November. I wanted to show you this bit. Where are we? I wanted to show you this meeting we had the following year, where we basically spoke about all the changes to the stock. This list here was written by Rosemary in towards the back end of 2010, but it was also, this was done in 2011, that one. And that was basically stating that the scaffold still hadn't been ordered. No, the other scaffold had still hadn't been ordered, and we were still waiting on stock. Part of the story. We had also waited at this point for people we were going to come across, and we were literally going to bring people over to work on that bit, but never mind. It is what it is. Is there anything else in here? No. There is some bits that's for another story, but cover that another day, I think. So this was all happening towards, the November, the back end of November. The scaffolding came and all the rest of it. And then there was the holding because there was the health and safety checks. We got the call from Mannerings. Oh, well, there's no health and safety checks. This is in the back end of November. Now, also, while that's happening, we got a bit of bad news. One of our friends was pretty ill at the time. And that kind of changed a lot. It was put a dampener on things, shall we say. So October all the way through to January was pretty bleak. You've got to remember those pretty bleak moments, because they were the most important moments, I guess. For anyone working in those times. So it's difficult because we're going in each day and the meetings are getting more political, and health and safety has just been checked. It's taken 3 weeks in November, and as soon as we hit December, and we had snow by the back end of November and the beginning of December. So that increased work for us all the way through to January. And then in January, our friend passed away. And we didn't know how we could go on as a company. Something hits you that hard. To a point where you wonder how you're going to carry on. And I remember the first week in January after New Year, we're sat in the back room and the door closes and there's that awkward silence, and I turned to Charles and I said, we must carry on. Went in the office the following day and phoned everyone, said, make the order by Monday, carrying it out by Tuesday, doing it by Wednesday. carry out the inspections. And for 6 weeks, the inspections were carried out, and it's like, well, other stuff was supposed to happen. And the last meeting that we had, on the castle, during the health and safety, sort of didn't happen. Oh, there was one before, actually, because the ground floor, there's a lot of issues with that ground floor. I think I've shown it. But, there was an issue with the ground floor and so on and so forth. The ground floor, but so I'm just gonna look for something that I can show you in here, which, let's get that over there, which is gonna actually show you, I think this is towards the back for some strange reason. I don't know why, because there's a lot that I haven't filled in here, so yeah, it's towards the back. And it's the only couple of things that I want to talk about. And I think it's a bit, it's quite important to show you these things, because they come relatable and they come part of the story. Oh, there was a meeting I forgot to mention. When we were sat in all the meetings, we were like, I remember we had a consultation. Well, it wasn't a consultation, but we had a list. And it was basically, what are we going to build? There was everything. There was restaurants. There's still the Burger King that's gone. There's still a Burger King sign in the moat, but they're filling the moat in. They're going to have a water feature in there, so there won't be a car park in there anymore, because they're moving the car park round, because there's been anyway. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. This probably means nothing to nobody. But if you're following this, it'll mean... And the castles pretend. Well, actually, there is a real replica castle. But I remember when Mummy and Daddy, when they went on holiday, I said to Mummy and Daddy, did you stay in the castle? And Mummy went, yes, Stephen, and it was awful. Anyway, I'm going to cut to the chase now and show you the good stuff, and then we'll come back and we'll tell the story of Mind Mob becoming the advertisement company, and I think we'll end on that, because it's quite a big video, this. Okay, so towards the back. Yeah, we're towards the back. There's a meeting that we had. Oh, there's a stock list. There's a list of employees. Yeah, so towards the back here, you've got a meeting. Health and safety. Signed by Rosemary and Colin Bagster. Now, this is a meeting that we half had. because we were trying to get some new associates at this point. So you can see the ideas that we had for the castle. You can see all the shareholders, and this is what we were going to tell all the shareholders. So this is all the scatty notes that we're going to tell the shareholders. Oh, there's some other stuff there that I don't really want to. So, you know, there was a lot to tell the shareholders, and there still is. There's a lot of stuff missing. We're trying to get a report together. We keep saying to people there is a report on its way. Nobody's interested now. They just want the money. But this isn't a finalization. There was a lot of things that was lost. You know. And it's trying to make sense of everything. One of the things that we did was we made a massive mistake with the moat. We tried to build a multi-story car park in the middle of the moat. And it was going down. And we're just like, oh, we'll fill it in with concrete. That'll do. Then it's all, no, get the concrete out because there's too much in. And it was guttering it out. And that took half a month. There was issues with the roof. There was asbestos. And they couldn't find the asbestos, and when we got rid of it, they bloody well found it as they were putting a gas pipe in, just when everything got done. And then they decided not to open it in the end. So it had to get sold in 6 months. So the other thing I didn't mention was after we got kicked out of Arnside Road and we'd moved here, we then moved all the stock here. Well, that's a problem because a lot of the stock had been dropped off at Mannerings. So it's like, well, just move it to Arnside Road, then put it to a trailer, and then move it straight here. Guess what? There was 4 wagons in the back garden, and Neil was going mad. Neil was going absolutely mad. I remember my stepdad, Jim Nightingale, I'm going to bring him into the story for a little bit. He came down the side, unloaded the trailers, unloaded another trailer and put into a trailer. One of our other lads came down, Elton. He was throwing stuff into the back of a van. Then it was all going down to Ludlow. And we were 3 months in Ludlow. Oh, yeah. And we had John Hale Sr. I forgot to... I'm just going to mention this guy in the story. John Hale Sr. He was my friend John Hale's dad. Right? And he gave me a toy phone. But he gave me something else as well. What else did he give me? Was it a folder? Can't remember. What did he give me? He said, there you go, Stephen, you can have it. I think it was a big folder. I can't remember. Off the top of my head what it was. I got a toy phone anyway. Anyway, I'm sat there. And because he brought me home from my mates. And I says, yeah. I said, we're reopening the building company because we closed it. That's another story. I said, we're reopening. I said, do you want to help us with the castle in Ludlow? He nearly crashed the car. He's like, yeah, I'll do the castle. I told him how much it was and, you know, and everything. And this is a tale from the vaults right here. John Hale Sr. went down and did the asbestos for us. He did the we had a meeting. Well, what we did was we blagged it. We said he's going over because he went over with him and Charles. That was right. Charles picked him up, drove him straight, got him in the car, drove him straight. They drove in Charles's Jag. Charles had a Jag at the time, didn't you, Charles? Yeah. Do you want to elaborate the tale? No, carry on. So, what happened from there was we got a call from a place in Manchester. These people in Manchester were going, hey, we want this, whatever. Guess who they were? They were the Mackays, and they were going to buy the castle in 6 months. And they finished it. We got a gardener. I'll tell you a funny story. We had a gardener. His name was Bob. Eric. Bob was the other guy. And he phoned me up. You know, when he saw the castle, he said, I hope you're not going to get rid of me. I hope the Mackays not going to get rid of me. And I said, well, I'm paying the Mackays to keep you on. So he's still working there, I believe. Eric the gardener. And his wife, who had an allotment down there, she's now doing a soup kitchen. And it all started from that allotment. So, oh yeah, there's another tale. I've literally opened a box of worms here. Right? There was a girl from Wigan, right? A homeless girl from Wigan. And she ended up being one of the Mackay's daughters. And she rang us and said, can I stay in the castle? We gave her a first-class apartment. It was going to be like a penthouse suite. We didn't tell anybody about this, like the top part, like near where one of the battlements were. Everyone was going mad because we hadn't opened the castle at this point and she was living there. Anyway, I shouldn't have really told you that, but, you know. I'm not going to do the Mind Mob story in this because this video's gone on for a very long time. I'll do the Mind Mob story on the other channel. But I just thought I wanted to end on those couple of things. Oh, I'll tell you another story. There was a journalist called Julian McFadden. Very posh journalist. And when the castle opened, he'd stayed there. And he was the guy that was basically investigating helicopter crash in Wales. And he stayed in the castle. And he put at the end of his article, he said, after all my investigations had been made clear, I went to stay in a marvellous castle in Ludlow, built by builders' offices, and we weren't builders' offices back then. But it was nice to have that, and fortunately, I've lost the article. But he's not. He's Julian. His son. His son had a heart attack and died. We heard. So very sad stuff. And his they just finished a massive bit of property there, and they passed, had a heart attack and died. And this is where they say life gets you. The girl he was living with, she married a friend. These are all imaginary people, not real. She married a friend called George Waits. he was a solicitor, and why she was married to him, when his back was turned, she was playing away with someone else. She committed adultery, and she also committed bigamy. And when she committed adultery, he was trying to divorce her, and she was trying to marry someone else behind his back. So life really bites you on the bum. It really does. There's another building company I wanted to mention as well. I can't remember the name. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I've really enjoyed making it. I've really enjoyed telling you this story. I've really enjoyed pulling out all the stops. Towards the end, I let out a few worms, but I know in the comments, people are going to go, hey Bean, how do you know about all this? And this was the thing that really, when we started this castle, when we started this project, we didn't know how big it was. We knew it was big. We weren't blind to that. But we didn't know. We'd done big houses, we'd done huge halls, we'd done Avon Hall, an imaginary place near Ormskirk. We had done a huge mansion for a mayor. We'd done all these jobs. So it wasn't, it wasn't that we couldn't do it. It wasn't that I just sat in the office planning it and sending people out and ordering the stock. That wasn't a problem for me. But when the castle came, ooh, stress almighty. And the politics, and when we'd done it, 6 months and we got rid of the castle, the phone goes, do you want to do another castle? No, I don't want to be involved in another castle. I don't want to build another castle. And it's funny because, when the Queen had the Jubilee, they said, oh, the Queen's coming. Don't send her there because it's not finished. I mean, there was a load of work. But they sent Mannerings to fix a gas pipe, and they found asbestos. And I was like, there's no asbestos. Well, there was. And they'd fixed it. But what they'd done was they cut into a wall. And if you know anything about asbestos, when you cut into a wall, that's it. It's one of them things, once you cut it, asbestos won't harm you, but it won't harm you if you leave it alone. But as soon as you touch it, and this is what people don't know, what they don't know about asbestos. I mean, they were looking, apparently when Mannerings went down to fix the gas pipe, they went down, every time they went down, like when we sent them down to do something, when we sent them down to remove scaffold or whatever, I remember Rich hunting for asbestos. And I'm thinking, seriously, I mean, I'm glad they did. But, looking back, Charles, do you want to elaborate? No, I didn't think so. There was another guy who came. Do you remember that lad, Phil? Dodgy character. Yeah. Who pulled all the cables out. Oh, yeah, so we'd had all the wiring done. And he just went and cut a huge lump of cable out. Well, it wasn't a huge lump. It was a massive load of cable, and it's coming out. And thinking, oh, gosh. I think he was hunting for asbestos as well. Because we'd had pipes put in for electric. We had one pipe put in. And he's like... And then he hit the gas pipe. Yeah, and then he hit the gas pipe. So the gas had to be redone, and the gas was leaking. Oh yeah, fun times. Right into the restaurant below that had opened. Yeah. Oh yeah, because the gas was leaking. And another, They were worried that another one was blow up, so they just, instead of calling the fire brigade, they chucked a big bucket of water into the oven. Yeah. Well, you'd have to hose it, like, straight in. Yeah. And if you've made it this, we should do the funny stories that were builders' offices, because there's a whole load. But the other thing that I didn't tell was that prostitute that was hanging around, the homeless prostitute. Oh, Mary, yeah. She died. I heard someone tell me she died. She was a lovely woman. She used to bring strawberries. I was in the wagon. Yeah, it's Charles. I had to bring Daphne with me when I was, because she wouldn't. Yeah. Oh, I'm alone. Yeah. You could just imagine. I mean, now, some people wouldn't mind that. Some people are pretty open to that. Yeah, come in, lovely. Have you got cream with that? Yeah. I knew she was a prosy because she was bringing, it was like fellas backwards and forwards. Because there was a train, but there was a railway crossing underneath, like 20 metres. She was bringing them over. And then there was that girl that died on the motorway. Oh yeah, she was walking straight across. Well, there was 2 bridge jumpers. Oh yeah, that happened as well. That was sad. And then someone tried to block you in, didn't they? With a cafe. Oh yeah. They put a cafe in the most ridiculous place. On the roadside. Yeah. You have to swerve out of people putting tables and chairs and... Yeah. Bloody hell. And you thought Lord Street was bad. Seriously, if you've made it this far, then don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. Comment say, I didn't work on that castle. Yeah, we drove you up with the stock. Because he was working and you picked him up. You drove up there. Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? In your car instead of you wagging. So, oh yeah, I'll just go straight up there in the car. And then I had a massive argument with him because he was like, you expect me to bring the van up? I know. He called me an idiot because I thought, I thought we were going to meet you there. I thought we were meeting a friend of his there because he had a friend in a big van that was following us up and then did a U-turn. Yeah, did a U-turn. He was checking his sat-nav all the way. I was like, bloody hell. A guy behind us, you can see him in the rear view mirror. Do you know what? I think we'll do a little podcast after this. After this video. You made it this far, you get a podcast. Yeah.